Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sigma Prism channel. Today, I have the co-founder of ErgoLend, Chris Ray. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, great to be here. How's it going?
Going well. So, ErgoLend, please tell us more about that in your own words.
I don't even know where to start. I've
Me neither.
branched out from just telling the crypto community about it to now my friends and family and their friends, and it's difficult. It's very new in a sense where peer-to-peer lending on a blockchain, uncollateralized, and seeking to develop these peer-to-peer tools. It's where do you start? I don't know. You tell me. I mean,
Well, to give people an idea, if you can't tell already by the name, ErgoLend is micro peer-to-peer transactions and loans. Typically, you would use these in the event of just trying to borrow a small amount of money from a trusted confidant. I know you guys have a few projects going on in Africa, which is very interesting. Do you
yeah,
want to talk a little bit more about that and how that's going out?
yeah. So microfinance, I guess there's you could debate whether a $2,000 loan is a micro lending compared to a $20,000 loan, right? But I think that you could consider upwards of $50,000 to be a micro loan, right? And that's our target is microfinance, but more so for the unbanked. And that's what our work in Africa is the underdeveloped areas of Africa and different countries in the world are served, or we can make the biggest impact in those countries compared to other countries in the US, like the US or the European countries where finances are have progressed a little further, and people have more access to them, I think. So in Africa, there's a huge opportunity for both blockchain technology and finance to expand in that area. This has been a narrative for several people, very well-known figures for years, that's an open market. And for us, I believe that we can make the greatest impact in those types of areas, bringing blockchain solutions, showing people how to use blockchain solutions, and then assisting them in developing financial structures through microfinance. In some of these countries, identity can be a problem, land titles can be a problem. They have a lot of different issues that can be addressed with blockchain technology.
Right.
Specifically for finance, there's a lot of unbanked people in underdeveloped countries. And I work with people in Africa because I've known these people for quite a while, or some of them, right? They've been my friends and I've worked alongside of them. And so that we have some trust. This is mainly why I'm working with people in Africa and not, say, South America or the Caribbean or what have you. It's because I know people there, so I have connections, right? And these connections have allowed me to help organize borrowing communities that are not in all cases completely unbanked, but they can benefit from what EXLE or ErgoLend aims to offer, and that is reduce costs by utilizing the solutions that we're building. There's no middlemen, so you're reducing overhead costs. And basically, we're allowing for borrowers to set their own terms. So, based off their own finances that mostly only they understand. And they know how to manage. So allowing borrowers to set their own terms, is giving them freedom in finance.
Yeah, very interesting. So you're providing this new medium, right, where you can have a more formalized way of doing microfinances in underdeveloped countries that normally would be, more of an organic in-person interaction, like, hey, can I borrow such and such from you? You don't really have any other thing to back that but word of mouth in the community, most likely, and a person's character and word, which hopefully means a lot in in a sort of village setting or a small township. So with that being said, now a bunch of questions come to mind. I'll just pick one out of my head, whatever comes first. So we'll just do a quick fire right here. So you mentioned the word uncollateralized, meaning there's nothing to back the actual loan but the request and the word of the people involved to issue the small loan and also to pay it back. Is there any way to enforce sort of the payback methods of the terms and conditions that would have been laid out within EXLE transactions?
Well, I think in general, people are good and people want to pay their debts. Okay. That's been my experience of my 4 decades of life. And I believe that social pressures kind of enforce some of the paybacks, how to treat people. If you're a bad person, people are going to call you out on it, and you're not going to get very far in life, right? We see this in pretty much every society in the world, every community. I mean, and so we're utilizing social underwriting, where with most traditional finance methods, they seek to use collateral for lending, right? So you put up your car or your property or an asset that has value against a loan, and that ensures that you're going to repay that loan. For us, that doesn't make sense if you're trying to bank the unbanked, right? There's a reason that they're unbanked. They don't have property. They don't have credit history. They don't have assets that they can utilize to take out a loan. And so a lot of people fall in between the cracks in finance and aren't afforded opportunity to partake in enriching their lives through investing in their children, investing in their education, or investing in their businesses, or even investing in their community. That would, a strong community enriches everyone's life, right? Sorry about these notifications. I thought I turned them off. But...
I haven't heard anything on my end, actually.
That's great. All right.
So how that makes actually perfect sense. We usually come from a more privileged position to say, when we borrow money, we've always have something at stake to lose. But what if you're trying to borrow something at a very small organic level and you don't have anything behind you? It's pretty much unenforceable by default, because you don't have any property that you can put up to collateralize that debt and payback method. But as you mentioned, the participants of the ErgoLend transaction will set out their terms and conditions. Regardless of that, how do you anticipate ErgoLend to be utilized in places that don't have a whole lot of internet access or technology or phones or what have you? Where does this agreement take place for people that don't have the technologies that perhaps we take for granted?
Yeah, so this is an issue. Connectivity is an issue. And these are barriers that I personally can't overcome, although we are attempting to by through two of the loans that are associated with EXLE. I personally have sponsored, it wasn't ErgoLend, but I personally sponsored these loans to show people that peer-to-peer loans can be made and create an impact in communities and in people's lives. So one of these was a cyber cafe, and part of their business plan is to provide connectivity in one of the rural area of Kenya that the loan was made. And this is going to benefit their community greatly. For one, not just the day-to-day consumers, right? But they're right down the street from official city buildings, and it's going to benefit their whole city, right? And I think this is really important because you would think that this, cities, municipal authorities could have full access to connectivity, but they can use community support. I mean, they're going to use it. And so this cyber cafe that we invested in is going to be a demonstration of how important connectivity is. That's not their main focus, mind you, but as part of the conversation, I think it's important to watch how, their whole community, everything about the area that they're in, that this connectivity is really important. That just demonstrates the impact that we're going to have.
Now, for the EXLE token, what utility does that provide for your project? And also, are the transactions conducted in ERG or in EXLE?
Okay, so the EXLE token is basically a governance DAO token, right? And this is to guide the platform. What we're looking to design here is a hub for lenders and borrowers to come together that have an understanding of the atmosphere of the platform, right? That microfinance can be based off of trust. We use trust every day in our lives, all around the world. And it's very possible for people to come together and make relationships as a borrower and lender. But first, you got to find each other, right? And so, the platform itself, I feel like it is a great tool, and it could possibly be abused if controlled by central authority. And I'm saying if there's like one person in charge of it, that they might be able to manipulate it in some way that it doesn't benefit the end user anymore, right? And our target end user that we're looking to help is the unbanked. So if we have 100, 200 people involved in a decentralized autonomous organization that are guiding this platform, it's going to be able to deliver more results, positive results, than if just one person was making decisions, because we all come through different walks of life, different perspectives and experience. And so these people are going to have to come together and make decisions and consider each other's position in which is the best way to obtain our mission goals. And our mission goals is to bank the unbanked. We want to be a positive influence, and so mission comes first, and then all these people contributing to the DAO can definitely make an impact themselves when they bring their experience to the table.
Right. Perfect. How far are you in the development process of your final vision?
I mean, we've already started the bootstrapping phase, right? And that's why I've sponsored these last two loans. The first two loans is that I think a demonstration was in order that peer-to-peer loans are healthy, and you can trust people. You can sponsor people, and so I sponsored these loans. That's the community side. That's part of the vision, right? But also, I should mention to your last question is our contracts. We already developed a contract for Ergo to be lent out. I didn't choose to use that, but our contracts that are coming are going to be using SIG-USD. And that's really important for us because when you're lending, you kind of don't want to lend in a volatile cryptocurrency. And so utilizing SIG-USD allows some stable, repayments, and it doesn't subject the borrower to double the cost of what they took out the loan for. So I think we're getting close to, I want to say end of the month, but I did see that we have some hiccups that we need to overcome with our contracts. And so with fingers crossed, as development goes, if we can find the bugs that are slowing us down, then our UI, our back end and contracts should be available, end of month. That's if everything works out right. But can't put a date on these things. I just hope,
Right. Yeah, that is incredibly underrated, having a secure stable coin to be a medium of exchange, hopefully built on a decentralized platform like Ergo. Because like you said, this idea of, for example, with Bitcoin, I'm going to pay everything in Bitcoin, every little transaction that I find on social media where somebody buys a carton of bags with Bitcoin. It's kind of, I don't know, I think it's kind of missing the point of what Bitcoin's meant to be, right? A digital store of value, a digital commodity. And probably the smartest thing to do is that at a time of a certain price of an asset, to do actual real life transactions with it, for example, with ErgoLend. And at that time, take almost like a snapshot of the value of the asset, convert part of it into a stable coin. So you can solidify that value and not have it fluctuate. I want $500 of ERG to be in SIG-USD at the time that I feel like it's at a high point or whatever. And that way you protect it from volatility of crypto markets and the larger markets that obviously people like you and I don't affect. And Ergo in of itself, no matter what it does, will always be affected by outside pressures. But a hardened, really secure and algorithmic stablecoin on completely different from, for example, the Terra Luna stuff, right? It's really the design and making it solidified for to future proof it from short-term and long-term volatility and bad design and concepts, and just take that and then push it out into the real world, because that will ultimately drive the adoption. We don't want to be transacting in volatile assets on a daily basis. We want to invest in them, hopefully, if we believe they're going to be in our future long term and it will have a positive effect on society. But ultimately, the portion of that we want to reserve for daily transactions, that's what we should take into account for stable coins. And right now, it just kind of seems that we're not there yet. So projects like yourself and with ErgoLend are the ones that are taking a step further than what you could actually do with your bank. Your bank in the Western world, you can wire, or you can immediately use some sort of medium like Cash App or Venmo or Zelle, but you're not able to put the terms and conditions of the repayment of that. For example, I go to a cafe, I'll get coffee this time, I'll send it in to your bank or to your app, the cost of the coffee that I paid, that you paid for me, with maybe I could put a little memo there and say, I got you for next time, but it doesn't have the robustness of kind of setting out terms and conditions like you could do with ErgoLend. Am I correct in that, in thinking this way, or?
Um, it's this conversation, it's complicated. So with with the borrowing and what have you, with your analogy, it doesn't really fit the ErgoLend model, right? It's different with the stable coins. It is important, right? So if I did say, okay, you and I would go grab coffee and make a note, okay, I'm paying him for it this time. I'm just gonna pay an erg. And you say, oh yeah, I'll get you next time. And we're gonna say an ergo cafe, right? What if price doubles in erg and ergo cafe doesn't change their price? You're kind of messed up, right? That's really simple explanation of why stable coins are so important, where losing volatility in cryptocurrencies is important. That's why we're instituting the SIG USD in our contracts.
Right.
So yeah, there is some similarities there. I did get kind of lost as you were explaining it, because you go in more depth than I do. I'm pretty focused on my project, and I don't get into those deep discussions of completely understanding stable coins. I do understand that we need them. And SIG USD has some issues, but on the reserve side and how that works, it might be that we haven't seen it mature yet, as there has really been little use case for it to date. But as it does mature, as SIG USD does get used, it's possible that it's a very well designed protocol. I missed the latest video from I can't remember who did it, but they said there's new ideas around the JED stablecoin, right? The Age USD style algorithm, and looking forward to that. And I'm also looking forward to continuing to see research come out on stablecoins, because even now, if you use SIG USD and you make a loan to Kenya, there's still some differences in those two currencies. They use the Kenyan shilling, right? And so there is trading between the Kenya shilling and the US dollar, and that could fluctuate, right? There's still volatility there. So it'll be nice to see what future research develops. I'm looking forward to DEXI, and I hope that SIG USD in some way becomes one of the assets that is considered when DEXI is realized. But that's for the future, I guess.
Yeah. So with SIG USD, I think the term you're looking for is utility, not use case, because use case for stable coins are, a dime a dozen. Yeah. There's so many of them, but the utility is lacking for sure. And that's really difficult. Yeah. The use case is if fiat onboarding, offboarding, becoming ideally a very frictionless process versus using all these exchanges and things like that. But you're right, there is a lot of research that needs to be done before this can be really widely adopted on a mass scale. And that will be ultimately the thing that onboards more users to something like the Ergo blockchain. And then second to that would be the actual projects building on top of it and making use of the SIG USD. I don't think that gets highlighted enough. Don't just focus on this volatile asset that, is very, very good to possess, similar to Bitcoin. But let's focus on, people don't want to see their retirement portfolios, if they have any, fluctuate up and down. That stresses them out. Imagine trying to convince your grandmother to buy ERG. Well, if she could get the stable coin side down first, most likely she'll be more open to the ERG side of things. Well, where does this come from? What platform? How is this enforced? Who programmed it? Who owns it? And then you could say the beautiful nobody owns it, you know.
Yeah.
And then we can get more into that, and then buying the NFTs or doing different things, and seeing the other D apps like ErgoLend and infrastructure there. That's going to be the most important thing. And without the proper it's funny because we live in a time right now in August of 2022 where we're proposing we're seeing DJET and we're seeing Dexy and all of these different ideas around stablecoins, because really there's no universal way of developing them. And if you
Right.
don't do it properly, it's going to go to shit. And that's what happened with the Terra USD or whatever they had over there. And that was really bad.
A couple different of them, a couple different, it does. I think that part of that, it comes back to irresponsibility also, but I mean, this is a conversation for another time, maybe, but yeah, I do look forward to using SIG USD with EXLE. So ErgoLend, it's exciting. I'm really excited. There's our community in Kenya alone has gone from, I think, do we have like 12 members or people familiar with it when we first started? And now we're over 70, if not more at this point. 70 people in Kenya that are working together as a I don't know what, not sure exactly the good name for it, some type of a cooperative. They're using best practices that they've learned over the years that work for them and some that don't work for them on how they can utilize this project, ErgoLend. And basically, we're all waiting for SIG USD because it's going to be hard to get an investor to invest their ERG into, larger projects, or even more projects, smaller projects that are reoccurring, maybe weekly or monthly. But SIG USD is exciting for us, and we're almost there. So
perfect. Could you talk a little bit more about the on the ground operation over there in Kenya? How did you come across making friends with some of your acquaintances over there? Who do you have over there on the ground, and what is the feedback you're receiving about essentially, a very complex, as we're seeing in this discussion, very complicated, very complex, very robust new technology going into a community that is by adopting this type of peer-to-peer micro finance loans, they're basically kind of taking a double espresso shot to the head of going above and beyond what normal people even in America use today. They're going from 0 to 100 very quickly.
Yeah, so I mean, real quickly, my friend Denicio, he runs Wenked Stake Pool on Cardano, WEQNT, and
okay,
he uses those stake pool profits for charity work in Kenya, and I'm not sure everywhere else, but he's a very charitable person, and his organization, his stake pool has been doing this for now years, right? And he was connected to some people in Kenya, and he became interested in EXLE just this last year, and he brought up the conversation with his connections in Kenya and asked them, "What do you guys think of microfinance on the blockchain?" And they adopted the idea immediately. They know that microfinance can help them and work for them, right? They can put it to work and they can enrich their life. And so we began to have weekly meetings and developed a team that came together to one, educate me on what's happening in Kenya, and then me educate them on how ErgoLend is going to operate and how it should operate by my vision. In the last, this has been going on since, November, December last year. And, since my position was, I'm not telling you guys how to do it, but here's what we're offering. Here's what we're attempting to do. The world needs this. If it really wants to bank the unbanked, you can't just go out and hand people money. Where are you going to find these people, right? But people that sincerely want to enrich their lives and build it up, they will seek ways to find money. So that team in Kenya started having meetings, blockchain meetings. We had somebody from Nairobi go to the rural areas that we're working in and train them on how to use wallets. After they started to learn how to use these wallets, they started to learn how to go from wallet to their local exchange that they can interact with, right? And then transfer to their banking app so that they can monetize crypto on the ground, so they can spend it, because there's not a lot of cryptocurrency awareness that's been done over there. And so you can't go spend Bitcoin in these rural areas. You just can't. I might be able to do it here. I'm not sure. I don't try, but as their team grew, they saw ErgoLend as a great opportunity for their area, for the people around them, their communities. And so they started to explore how to protect it, because if you get a bad apple in there that spoils the opportunity, no lender is going to lend to their association of their community. There won't be any social underwriting if there's defaults, right? And so they're seeking right now how to protect access to lenders, and they've set up rules and guidelines for their participants in their community. I want to call it a cooperative. I don't know exactly where they stand on forming official organizations, but I do believe that they are exploring how to file such an organization with their government so that they are legally compliant. And so they've taken it upon themselves to participate in what we're doing. And I think they serve as a great example of how other communities can do it also, where some of the people I've been told are a little bit older and have a lot of experience in finance or having interacted with finance. And so, what they've seen is much different than what I've seen. So they're applying their local knowledge, their local culture, and just working with their community to ensure that the borrowing side for their communities are successful and they benefit from it. And while it's a win-win situation for the lender also. The 2 loans that we made to Kenya, there was 18 people that joined me. They're like 5% annual loans. So over the course of a year, there's a 5% return on these loans. And if you think about, at the end of the year, if you loan out, $2,000 and it's coming all back at the end of the year, then you're going to get 5% on top of 2,000. Well, it's not true. You're not loaning that money out all for a year. It starts repayment in September. And so that money will then be able to be relent with more interest, and so it can be very lucrative for a lender to participate. And as long as the borrowers are successful in protecting their side, I think that, win-win for everybody. Lender gets to make an impact in the world twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 times with the same amount of money, right? over the course of a decade or whatever. And it's
Right.
powerful.
Yeah, it really has the potential not to sound like a cliche, but to revolutionize the world, right? And I'm sure ErgoLend won't be the only micro transaction peer-to-peer based loaning mechanisms in cryptocurrencies, but definitely, hopefully, you guys remain the premier project and one of the cornerstones of what has been birthed out of Ergo, right? But this concept of kind of getting around the banks, or at least having the banks to, or a lender to back microloans, and then incrementally, maybe in the Western world, have bigger loans without the banks at the forefront of the transaction, right? The people come first, then you'll have the backers, if you'd like, for those that need to be backed with collateral, or I we could talk for a long time about where this could go. I can think of mortgages and things of that thing on the blockchain, and but all in the name of more transparency, all in the name of banking the unbanked first and foremost.
Yeah.
And obviously onboarding more people into the blockchain world by using stable coins and helping them to discover other financial tools and ways to empower themselves. For example, privacy, and other things that they might be not looking at. They just want to make a quick loan, pay people back, and you're offering the rails to do that. So we look forward to seeing your project develop further. I know you've been working very hard on this. You're one of the first people in the Ergo community I met. And back then, which was early this year, if you could believe it or not, it was more a concept and design. And now it's exciting to see it come together, and that you're waiting on certain aspects to also kick in that are, frankly, outside of your control. For example, a stablecoin design. But to know that you're ready for that when it is ready to pull the trigger is incredibly inspiring. And you're in America, half a world away from the people that are going to be benefiting most from this. So that's awesome that you're doing this type of work, and that your team is so motivated to do it.
Yeah, we have a passionate team, and in our conversations, we are seeking to change the world. And so, yeah, it sounds cliche, but I think as long as we do deliver the borrower control of setting the terms and conditions of the loan, I think we'll succeed in our original mission, right? Because that's really pushing power to the edges. So I'm as passionate today as I was earlier this year. The concept was not proven early this year, like January, February, but we have proven that the contracts work, and now we're proving that the social side works. So integrating the social with the code, it's really cool. So when we come back and talk about this, hopefully later, we can go into more depth, and I hope to be able to give some real good examples of how it benefits people on both sides. So some people that have money, they want to increase their wealth, and that's fine. I advise them to do it in a good place, and I think that lending to the unbanked is a great place to put your money to make an impact on outside of your own little bubble, right?
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you again for taking the time on such short notice to come on in and talk about what you're building. Everybody check out ErgoLend. Do you have any socials you would like to plug very quickly?
We're on Twitter. You can find at ErgoLend there. We're on Telegram. You can find that through the Ergo pathways. maybe you provide a link. Yeah, we have Discord, and that's about it as far as I go with it, because Twitter and Telegram is probably where I spend most of my time, and then the Discord, I feel I get lost in there a little bit with maybe 2 or 3 people, when the other places I can be exposed to many more other people.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Putting links on my descriptions is going to cost you extra SIG USD. We could work that out after. I'm
We're
just
gonna have to
joking.
pass that on to the subscribers. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to provide a few links there. I typically forget that for most videos, but now that you reminded me, absolutely. So thank you again, Chris, for dropping by, and everyone check out ErgoLend, and again, check out what tools you can build your future vision on with Ergo as well.